Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Heroes Podcast. My name is Ryan G from Aligned Data Strategy with my co-host, the real Pete Kirkwood, your kingmaker. Pete, what is today's topic?
Well, brother, I was a little bit inspired when we were discussing about what we wanted to talk about just how there's been some rough things lately, some good things lately. There's been a bit of a mixed bag, and I remembered the song, which is by a favorite artist of mine, Concord Dawn, "Man for All Seasons," and that song always spoke to me that the true real man was a man who was there and could be there and thrive in all seasons. And I think that is the same as the hero. It's about being a hero for summer, for winter, for autumn, and for spring. You know, it's not just about picking and choosing, because if you're going to have that character and you're going to demonstrate that character, it's not a on-off kind of a thing. And a perfect example of this, we were just supercar shopping. And while we were looking at this car, we're talking to the owner and we're having a discussion about it because my friend is looking at buying it. And he said, you know, I want to use this as an asset to leverage my business. Now, a lot of people have bought a flash car as an asset to leverage their business. And fuck all of them have leveraged their business with that asset. Most of them have just enjoyed it for their own personal satisfaction and done fuck all with it. So maybe they sign write it, maybe they drive it around a bit, maybe they talk to some people about it, but that's about it. But my good friend, he said, well, what I would do is I would sign write it, and then I would put my mechanics tools in the back of the supercar, and I would drive to local car events. I would reverse it up, I would open the boot, and I would say, who needs a hand? Now, I'm going to get all the attention because I just turned up in a supercar, sign written as a business, and I'm going to get all the respect because I'm just going to get my hands dirty and I'm going to help people that I don't know because I don't care, because that's just who I am and that's what I do. And his character will demonstrate who he is. Now, he could go there and he could put his, he could open the boot of his car with his tools and he could work on anyone's car and all the rest of it. And his character will demonstrate who he is, and a few people will notice. But a hell of a lot more people will notice when he does it in a supercar versus a little buzzbox. And that is something I think where it's about being a hero for all seasons, because you need to not only be able to be a hero in action, you need to be able to be the hero of summer, of spring. And that is a guy who he's always a hero, but he also knows how to do it and how to play it. And, you know, fucking, what do they say? Humble brag or whatever it is. He listens to what I say a lot. He's bragged many times that he had the advantage of becoming my friend before I started charging for my services. And it's about rain, hail, shine, doesn't matter what it is. How do you show up and present yourself as the hero for all seasons? So you said you've been through some things this week, Ryan. What jumps out when you hear that?
What jumps out when I hear that? Well, one thing is, of course, we started to pursue JiuJitsu. I'll be going back to it after this podcast. And I remember going, shit, I feel so rusty. Like the defensive and offensive reflexes start kicking in. There's a rhythm that I'm trying to find again, and it's slightly frustrating me that I completely forgotten how to shrimp, etc. I'm just trying to relearn the basics, and you have to deal with that. It's like a swordsman picking up the swords after years. In his memory, he has it. Like, I had so many victories, but all of a sudden the sword becomes unfamiliar. It's like taking a dive in cold water. You're like, oh, this is new, but I remember, but my body does not. And after every sparring, it feels like I'm chipping away at, I don't know, the unnecessary, the unwanted marble, the unwanted moss, the unwanted rust.
unnecessary material.
Exactly. And besides that, let's say at work, nobody likes feeling incompetent. I had this issue for at least 2 weeks where I just could not figure out why in certain reports certain values don't come back. I'm like, fuck, how the hell do I explain this to my users, or how the hell do I explain this to my manager? I mean, I managed to figure out a workaround temporarily,
Mhm.
and that made me feel great that it could at least help to users. But there's still this nagging thought of, fuck, this is not the true solution. And
Yeah,
I believe it's that keeps great men awake. It's like when bodybuilders go, fuck, I could have given more in that set.
I do see what you're saying. I do see what you're saying, because it's about that moment where you start holding yourself to account for your character on the little thing.
Yeah.
I've just got a business person trying to call me right now on the thing. Let me just come back to that. I was just in it. And I noticed what you were saying. Right. When you're trying to demonstrate your character and you're trying to be it, that's when you find that you end up being a hero for one season. And when you let it flow and you live from the character and you live from the moment and all the rest of it, that's when it's genuine and it works. Because a good example of this is I went out last night.
Right.
And it was one of those nights where we did not know what was going to happen, and we did not expect this, because it's 10 o'clock, right? We're sitting around and we'd planned to get some gaming in. We were going to play some video games. It's wet, it's raining, it's miserable. My phone rings and the bro goes, "We're on the way to the strip club right now, man. Are you coming? I'm going to buy you some drinks. Like, I've got this client here. He's flying out in like 2 days. It's going to be a big one. Like, get your ass down here." And I was like, all right. So I said to the bro, I was like, "Are we on for this?" He's like, "Yep, let's finish this job, get changed, get ready, go." So fuck it. The entire night is changing direction and we're on it. It's
Right.
pissing with rain. So instead of taking one of the nice cars, we're like, we're just going to take the buzz box, right? Because we're just going to meet these guys at the club. It's not a problem. We get there and we roll in, and it turns out to be that heaps of guys have turned up to the strip club on the Thursday, and there's too many guys and not enough women. So we were like ready to go out and to throw some money down and to have a good fucking time. And there's just no one, like, there's just no fucking girls. So it's like, shit. And, there's like one or two in the room before they're dragged out the back for a dance, and they're there for half an hour. It's just terrible. And this one chick comes out, and this guy who I get introduced, he's the client, right? He's the dude who's someone to know. I know why he's someone to know. I'll tell you in a bit. He's a businessman. He's flying out overseas. He's going back to Europe. Big deal. My mate sort of roughly knows that, and he, okay, cool. And then gets sus that I'm going to be the sober driver. So now we've got the wrong car. We've got the buzz box, which is not really more good for more than two people, and we've got this gigantic Russian guy, and okay, whatever. We said we were going to bring the muscle car too, so that's what they're expecting, and all of a sudden the thing's going weird, and then the girl comes over, the one pretty girl in the club. I'm like, I like the look of this one, and he's like, "Oh, she's coming back with us to the after party," and I'm like, "Is she now?" And he's like, yeah, and he's talking. I'm like, okay, like, you say this, I don't see this, but you reckon it's been arranged and sorted, so I'm just not going to do anything. And he's leaning in talking to her, and I'm sitting there like, I would really like to jump in on this, but I'm not jumping in on this guy because I know when and where to jump in on things.
Right.
And then I feel my knee. I look down and she's rubbing my leg with her leg. She's rubbing my knee, and I'm just like, fuck's sake. And then she's looking at me and she's touching and she's trying to do the thing. I'm like, okay, all right, well, look. And I'm like, yeah, I'm the sober driver. I'm taking us home. And she's like, oh, really? Really? Okay, so maybe this is working out.
Who
Look,
knew?
hey, hard out, right? And my client who invited me to meet this guy, right? He was like in full on flow orbit mode, right? He's bouncing around like a pinball in this club. I can't talk to him for more than 3 or 4 seconds. You know, he's just from one location to another, to a hey man, how's it going? A business meeting, to one of the girls, to the bartender, to another business person, to another girl. He's just on. And he eventually ends up going home with one of the girls because he always does. He's got game. And then he's supposed to arrange him to go. So we go with this guy. And this Russian guy's like, oh, this car, it's so loud, it's so small, it's so cool. Because it's one of our village little race boxes, right? It's a tiny, tiny little Nissan March, but it's the racing edition. So it handles like a little go-kart. It's got a loud exhaust on it. It sounds like it's a V8 and it's a little 1 liter, like it's just hilarious. And he thinks it's hilarious. So we go back to his place and he's going to get out some real Russian vodka and we're going to drink and we're going to have a good party there. And it rolls on as it does. So the whole thing goes on and the rest of it, it was a really good night. It was a really good night. And I ended up seeing some other people and some of the missions and stuff. We won't get into that. The thing was, that whole scenario where my mate is just having a great time with this guy and they're just getting on and they're drinking and they're just changing stories about cars and all this kind of stuff because they just get on so well. And then this morning I said to him, so, you know, how did you find last night? He said, it was great. You know, I really enjoyed hanging out with him and I said, cool. What does he do for a job? And he goes, he said something about it. It was like, he's a businessman or something. I'm like, yeah. What kind? I can't remember. I go, yeah, that's because he didn't specifically tell you he's actually part of the mafia. He didn't mention that. I didn't mention that. But we had a good time, didn't we? And he was like, oh, fuck, is that who we were partying with last night? I'm like, yep, it was. Because I knew that my mate would be totally fine if he didn't know that because his character would shine through the whole way. I know that he is a man for all seasons. He is a hero for all seasons, and I can take him anywhere, and I know that he will be all right. Now, if I had said to him, bro, this guy's a real tough motherfucker, and rah, 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 he might have been a bit like, oh shit, like, you know, a little bit on edge, a little bit cautious, a little bit, but instead he was like, you know, take a piss on his lawn and fucking, you know, sit in the car and have a dance and, you know, the toasting vodka and stuff in the kitchen and just having a good time. Because so often what we forget is it's about being ourselves and our actual true character and expressing it without any fear of judgment of who is around us. Because so often when it comes to just be yourself, well, actually you think about everyone else and you don't be yourself. You be what everybody else thinks you should be. And that's why people can't be themselves. But that hero for all seasons, I don't have a problem seeing it in me because to me it's hard to not see because I constantly see the kaleidoscope that I look out through the world and I'm like, well, I'm going to be like this for this and I'm going to be like this for this and I'm going to be like this, right here I need to be supportive, right here I need to be distant, you know, depending on who it is and what relationship. Like fuck man, I know I recently I had to give someone a hug that was awkward as fuck, but I had to do it. And I know that I had to give that hug. It was awkward. But that was their problem, not mine, right? I just know that I had to be like, hey, it's all good. It's okay. And they were like, and I was like, fine, it's all good. But I know that previous versions of me would have thought about that situation so much that my own character of, hey, it's all good, wouldn't have been able to be expressed because I wouldn't have been able to handle a rainy season or a stormy season or a sunny season or whatever season that was in that moment. And I think that that is a really beautiful analogy for a hero for all seasons, is that you're still the same person. It doesn't matter if it's raining on the rocks or shining the sun or the frost or the leaves are falling, the rocks are the fucking rocks, man. That's what being stoic is.
Hmm.
You
You touched upon something really
represent.
powerful. In essence,
Go for
you're
it, brother.
saying my response is more important than the event itself.
Exactly.
And that's one of the fundamental Stoic principles. Realizing what's at stake.
Yes, it is.
I mean, let's take the party. I mean, at some point it became very clear that a businessman would have behaved in a different manner. A businessman of a certain type behaves like the way, the Russian guy did.
The funny thing is, there's an interesting thing where, like, you see how people love to let their hair down when they're out doing what they're doing, because there was a guy out that night who bought a multi-million-dollar property
Jesus.
who stole my fucking lighter. I'm like, you bought a multi-million-dollar property, you bastard. It's $3.50. What the fuck? Get your own lighter, you tight cunt. But I know why that guy had the money to buy a multi-million-dollar property. It's because he stole my lighter. Right? So it's all part of the character. And he you could see it in his beingness. When I lent him the lighter, I didn't feel good about it. Because I could see that he was a for him kind of a vibe. I could see that on him.
I get it.
Right?
I bet it's one of those sleazy motherfuckers.
Well, he's actually famous. He's an actor, and you probably know him. But he kind of gave me that vibe. Like, oh, I actually ran into a famous actor last night who stole my lighter. But it was
That's
just
a good story.
crazy. Yeah. I'm not going to mention who it was. I know who it is, but I'm not going to mention who it was because he stole my lighter. That's funny. It's really funny. But yeah, he's American, and he just happens to be here, and he was in a strip club last night.
And he happened to make a multi-million-dollar deal. So that's a good story. I mean, I wish you got some of the money.
Well, to be fair, I will get some of the money, because it was my client who helped facilitate that deal, and the client will pay me. So it will all actually come. So I actually, in effect, I will get paid for my $3.50 lighter.
I mean,
in
that's one expensive lighter,
but
right?
it's kind of funny because you expect famous people to behave better. When you meet them in a club, you don't expect them to steal your fucking lighter. But it shows the character, right? It shows the character, because who you are for all seasons shines through. And well, something to be said about Hollywood.
You can put lipstick on a pig, it's still a pig,
Exactly. And I tell you, the Russian mafia thought I was the coolest motherfucker there. Didn't have much respect for Mr. $20 million net worth famous actor. So what does it really matter? But exactly, right? Look at the character. And it even came down to the things like, it was a good contrast, because my friend is he's very much, he lives in the moment. He plays a fantastic example of the man who lives in the moment. And if he's going to throw some money at some girls, he will actually go and throw it. Like, he will actually have some fun with throwing it. Whereas I'll do the opposite. I will walk up and I will stand there and I will wait until I get her attention, and then I will give it to her.
I see.
And then I will walk away.
To be honest, to throw money to a woman like it's a baseball or something, that looks like a fun time, to be honest. Like, I can see the appeal.
Exactly. And the thing is that what you see is the character shines through, because one of those is not right and one of those is not wrong. They're just two different ways of expressing your energy towards another person, right? When you're paying them a strip club. And the way I do it comes from the way my character does things. I think about it, I act patiently in time, right? And I move. Now, sometimes I am too slow and I miss things. I'm not perfect in life. But I'm very deliberate in what I do. And it usually creates a strong effect in that deliberateness.
I see.
And it did. Because, I know what IOIs are, right? We all do. And I can get into the detail, but I won't burden the podcast with that. The point is that you're going to express yourself as you express yourself. And if you find that you're a hero who can't handle when it gets rainy, you'll find if the leaves are falling and if the snow is on the ground and if the sun is out, but if it's raining, you just can't be a hero. That demonstrates that there's something in your character that's not working, because you should be a hero for all seasons. Like you should be a man for all seasons. Like how you do one thing is how you do anything.
Yeah.
And I can proudly say that I do my things with a haphazard flow that can really fuck with people who like strict discipline. But I'm proud of that because that's how I do it, right? If it gets to strict discipline, no. You just watch me skate on pieces of ice that are breaking apart as we're standing on a river that's melting. That's what's impressive. Don't put me in a fucking warehouse full of storage boxes.
Right, because you need to work towards your strength. What I've noticed is, especially in business and in game, work towards your strength, and then delegate whatever else breaks to a team that can handle it. Be it a system, being an actual marketer, be it whatever. You'll always need a team, and I think we touched upon that a few weeks ago. Yeah, but in essence, what's being said is you always have a choice. Their viewers, their listeners, their friends, their tribal members. You always have a choice. Choose to be a victim of a situation or actively work towards being the victor regardless of the situation. And now a bit of a confession. I'm having such a bad time with writing a thesis. It's like the bane of my existence. Very smart. I know how to articulate a solution to almost everything. But to actually write it, to actually go through a scientific method and document it, so fucking boring. You know what I mean? But I have to face
I do know what you mean. And in my mind, I'm mentally trying to reprogram a path where you can fit it into your strengths. The task needs to be done, right? Because
absolutely.
You got to think about what you love, and there's parts of it that you love because you do love the subject material, otherwise you wouldn't be interested. But you don't love the tedious writing.
Oh God, it's tedious. It's so boring.
But you do love communicating with people.
Oh, I love when I finally get a chance to talk to my, let's say, quote unquote coach. Again, I love it. I love communicating.
So we have to reconcile in our mind something like the joy you have at being able to communicate to the world for all time in immortality by using the written word. So it's still spoken, right? But you're recording your spoken word. Think of it that way. Think of recording your spoken word to give it immortality with what you have discovered and how you will communicate that. And the care that you put into choosing and crafting and selecting those words is able to give you a higher quality piece of work than if you spoke it so quickly and hastily.
I see. So it's like writing my chronicles.
Yes. And it's doing what you already do, but it's doing it in a slightly different way, so it's more immortal and more longer lasting and more powerful and more cool. So we're completely reframing it only in ways that work and that are positive. Not easy, but it gives you
Oh
a
no.
different
But what you touched
on.
upon is exactly where it is not only showing character, but showing coachability. This is not an
Yeah.
easy thing for a lot of people. Besides the feedback, you as a human being need to realize that even though it's not meant personally, even though it's not meant offensively, etc., 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 it is my response that matters in situations like this. So here's the practicalness of this seminar, this podcast, is because my response is more important than the actual event. I need to realize that I need to now select an appropriate response from the inside to out. Because the inside,
Yes.
the way I, feel about it, I can't change it. To give another example, yesterday I completely botched one of the tasks because I didn't know what it was doing. It's like the second time dealing with this in 2 weeks. Never seen
Mm-hmm.
it before.
Mm-hmm.
No clue how to deal with this. Completely unfamiliar with that specific part of the IT system. Now,
Mm-hmm.
this response I found extremely offhanded. Now, the statement was, "Oh, is this your first job?" And I was like, "Excuse me?" Because I was already stressed out. I was already, in a slight panic because I want to help this guy. And then hearing that remark almost made me go, where did this come from? Am I not helping you? Am I trying to figure this out together? And I remember just holding my anger and almost getting amused by like, I don't even know this guy and I'm getting angry. This is not okay.
Mm-hmm.
So as an amusing thought, I asked, maybe I'm looking too deeply into this and my emotions are getting the better of me. So I asked the question of, that's funny. What do you mean? And he really tried to apologize, like, oh, she just taking offense. And I recognized he might not have meant it like that, might not have. But it's funny how he's now. And that became funnier the more I thought about it, because I started to realize, wait a minute, it's like the symbology of holding on to a hot potato. You're only gonna hurt
Mm-hmm.
yourself. So let that shit go. And at the very least, find this situation now amusing. And of course, I was still angry. Don't get me wrong. That's if from a consultant to a consultant, that's not something you say when doing a job. In the pub, go ahead, knock yourself out. No, we're drinking, we're having fun. This is social shit. When they're working, when it's crunch time, certain things hit harder, if you know what I mean.
Absolutely.
And you're like, whoa, that came out of nowhere. And I just had to catch myself before I said anything that would get me fired. Because trust me, I was livid. That an older consultant would even consider saying something like that. You know what I mean?
Well, the thing is that it's like you're looking to sort of be able to, when you get it right, say you're playful. So when you're expressing yourself in a casual situation to you and another guy, you're out having a drink and there's nothing related to that. And he's like, I reckon that blonde over there, I might go talk to her. And you're like, well, are you going to do it like before your dick like shrinks down and to nothing? Like, we're going to do it before you grow hair on your ball, like before you grow hair on your fucking out of your ears? Like, come on, can't move.
Yeah.
And that kind of language is totally fine. But if you're sitting there in a business room and someone says, I'm thinking about I'm thinking about I'm thinking about expanding our advertising budget. well, come on, cunt. Are you going to move? Are you going to do it? Are you going to fucking let hair grow out your ears fucking until your dick sags to the floor? Like, everyone's going to look at you like, what the fuck?
Yeah, you are cocaine.
But,
What's going on?
right? But if you if you were to do it in the way where you'd be like, well, come on, boss, are you going to do it? Are you going to step up and lead this company like we all want you to do? Or are you just going to like play it safe? Because that's what we all want to see, you know? And it's the same challenging energy, but it's done in a way that's like, it's appropriate in a way that it carries respect because of the context. So I can
Right.
say to my friend, stop being a potato. And that can be a respectful thing to say, but I could also say that in a time and a place it would be a disrespectful thing to say. So I can get away with saying a lot of things to my friends because we have in jokes between us where we will give each other shit about our weaknesses and things like that in a way that we're not being negative or offensive or anything like that. A good example is one of my friends. He always says, I've got to be careful what I post. Right? I post a lot on social media, but
Right.
that joke's actually because I hit a post when I was moving a vehicle in the middle of the night, like during a party. The joke is about a fence post. So every time someone says to be careful what you post, someone who doesn't know would be like, who the fuck are you to tell someone who works on social media for a living how to do their job? Because they don't understand the context, right? So if someone else was to tell me to be careful what I post, I'd be like, who the fuck do you think you are? Right? I've said that to my own father. I've been like, who the fuck do you think you are to tell me how I fucking run my social media? But when my friend says that to me, we just laugh because we have that context.
Right. And then we
that
have, yeah. Finish the story. Finish the story.
and that level of like rapport or a relationship or connection that you have with other people. It's that example of, doesn't matter if it's raining or hailing or shining or whatever, it's being that same character, same hero for all seasons. You can
Right.
still, you know, on a good day or a bad day, I can still crack a joke with my mate and we can still laugh about it and move forward because we're friends for all seasons, right? It's about being whatever you need to be consistently. So you're always demonstrating your true self. Because if you can't, then what's holding you back? Is it beliefs? Is it your environment? Is it some person, right? Like you're a really funny person and you like making jokes, but when you're hanging out with your partner, you never share that side of your humor because you don't want to offend them.
Right.
You want to reassess how that relationship's going.
Yeah.
You know, like you want to reassess that relationship. I don't know who you are, what's going on, right? What if it's your boss and you can't express yourself around your boss? Are you really working for the right company?
Well, that's a good one. Well, on that note, I've worked for banks and I've worked for startups. Guess where I had
Oh yeah,
a lot more fun?
startups.
Well, duh. Well, duh. Why do you think?
Yeah,
I have, even though I didn't earn as much, it was so much fun. So much fun. I mean, because of that, I now have I might not be the most technical consultant, but I'm definitely one of the more human consultants, if that makes
and
sense.
that actually results in a better outcome because the consultant who's a technical expert actually fails often in that communication with the client to make sure that their technical genius is so smoothly communicated. Because if I build you a system with the best features and can't teach you how to use them, it doesn't matter shit. So your human connection actually is a bigger advantage than any level of technical expertise, as long as you have the technical expertise to get the job done. And I know that your expertise is far beyond that.
Well, let's not blow it out of proportion. But yeah,
Hey,
what
that's a fair assessment.
if you would take, yeah, if you would take the translation from, you know, job skill into life skills, what I've started to notice is data analysis can only take me so far. What you truly need is to major in major things. That's a Joe Nicasio quote right there. To major in major things is to literally be a man of all seasons, because I do what matters. And one thing that matters and will always matter, regardless of whether I still have this project 10 years from now, or build a multi-million-dollar business, it doesn't matter. But what is evidently true is that your communication gets you the money. Never just the technical skills, but it's absolutely apparent that your communication is king. Yes, of course, within the context, because you need to know, else why have a solicitation interview? They're not just, they check your CV just to see, on paper, would you work? But then, why would they hold an interview with you? Why would I hold an interview with someone? Because I'm trying to see, all right, he seems like an interesting fit. It's like almost like a Tinder, like a Bumble. Like, oh, listen, on paper this might work out. I can see us together. But how are you really? Let's date a bit. Do you look pretty?
Yeah.
Do you like your body? Do you treat me well? Is there a click? Can vibe?
How do you present yourself?
How do you present yourself?
How do you handle your business?
Exactly.
How many liabilities are you going to cause in my life? How many assets are you going to cause? How many bones? How many curses?
Well, at least one bone. Did it?
I said bones, but bones works too, right? What other beef are you going to bring? Because people can come with drama, right? I've dated a mob princess.
That never changes.
Right? Well, yeah, try dating a mob princess, right? Like when shit goes wrong, cars full of dudes turn up and pile out, right? Like,
I actually had dreams about that, but that's me.
Yeah, wow.
Are you actually?
When I actually look at my life, it's stupid. What I've lived through, it's just fucking ridiculous. Even right now, it's funny. Some of the people who've been by my side the whole time, I'll turn to them and I'll say, blah 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 blah, and they'll be like, no, it's not like that. Like, okay, like, no, because this and this, it can't be like that. And I'm like, okay, if you say so. No. But they wouldn't do that,
right?
And it's like, look, I get that you're currently trying to justify what you currently believe to be true versus what I told you,
right?
And you're using every single piece of knowledge you can find in your brain to make that assessment. Right now, it doesn't matter shit to me if you believe me or not.
Right.
So I'm just going to let you do that, and I'm going to laugh because I don't lie to you, right? Like I don't lie to you. So when I tell you that this is real hardwood, you don't struggle to believe me. But when I tell you that's a real diamond, you go, but diamonds are really rare and valuable. Yeah, so is good hardwood. And that thing you'll jump out on. So I think that it's a fantastic opportunity for me to sit there and remember that it's actually not about what anybody else says or thinks or cares, right? So I live my life for me. I enjoy my life because I enjoy my life, and it's got nothing to do with anybody else. So when other people give me grief, I have to make a decision about whether I'm going to enjoy my life or not. And the majority of the time, I choose to enjoy my life because someone has to have given me some reason to care enough to invest my life in sorting out their grief. And then it also has to get to a point where it overwhelms me and becomes grievous to me. Because if you come to me and you say, look, my life is over, I am going to get kicked out of my home, everything's screwed, I lost $100 on the way home, and without that $100, I can't pay my bills and my life is over. Like, you are melting down. You are in full meltdown. And to me, I've got $100 spare in my pocket, and the level of grief I have over the circumstance is exactly zero. I can just give you the $100 and the problem is solved. I don't care. Now, if I don't have any money, I'm like, damn, there's not a lot I can do to help you. It's a different scenario. But so often people are in a scenario where they've lost $100 in their life and they don't think, why don't I just ask the life coach if he can give me $100?
Now
It's just
imagine being
not tapped.
scammed for 300 instead of 100, or God forbid, 100,000.
Yeah.
You know how shit you would feel?
Well, it's not. No, it's not real cash though, right? Like it's they lose $100 in their life, right? They lose their relationship with someone. They lose their
Oh,
temper.
you
They
mean in
can't
that
get their
context?
emotions under control. And it's like they lose $100 in their life. And instead of going to the life coach, hey man, do you know what I could do about that $100? And I go, oh yeah, by the way, if you look over here, there's 10 grand. They just struggle along and they go, well, he couldn't possibly know. Because I had a guy bring it, he's like, well, what makes you so qualified? I'm like, because I know the base principles of life. Like I could literally break them down for you right here in front of you and this girl, and we'll see how that goes. And as I started getting into it, eventually I went, yeah, look, man, you're doing it. You're doing it. Have a good night. And I stopped trying to tell him or convince him or teach him anything
Right.
because he didn't give a fuck. He just wanted to look good in front of the girl. So I just said, yeah, there you go, bro. You can just look good in front of the girl and you can have a good night. I'm off. And he was like, yeah, fuck yeah, he's out of here. I'm the man in front of the girl. And she was like, oh, right. You take me for a dance. And he was like, yeah, I do. And she's like, take your money. Who do you think she was fucking thinking about, though?
The one who
I know,
handled it
I know where her
best.
attention, I know where her attention was because when I saw her on stage later, her reaction was just completely, it was different to him. But he felt like the victor. He felt like a winner, and he was all, bro, I'm so cool, and you're a cool dude because you let me have it, sort of a da 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 da. And I was like,
And then you start to notice there are many levels to this game of life. There's so many levels. There's possibly levels that we're not even aware of.
there are, and the thing for me is that as I grow as a coach and as I teach and as I share more things, and even I'm aware this is a public podcast that anyone can listen to, and many should because there's a lot of value and information in this shit. I don't tell people that I can do this. I don't tell people that I can see this. I don't tell people that I can set them up to feel like they're good or bad, irrespective of whether they are good or bad. I can make you feel like shit when you're in a good situation. I can make you feel terrible when you're in a good situation.
Right.
I can make you feel excellent when you're in a shit situation. I can do vice versa.
Right.
But people won't realize it, especially if they don't know me very well. So that just comes with the skill. Like that comes with the ability for me to work with people to change their life. Well, if I've got a hammer and I'm a builder, I can build houses. It's really cool. I can also bash heads in with it. And I can do exactly the same with my skills, as I bet you can with yours. So we must be coming up time for this one.
Oh,
Gosh,
yeah.
we've really covered all seasons, haven't we?
Yep. Summer, fall, winter, and the other one. I keep forgetting what the 4 seasons were. Even though I live in a country where we have 4 seasons, but whatever. Spring, that was the one. Now, the biggest takeaway would be, in order to improve as a man in the context of, the hero for all seasons, the man of all seasons, it's your response is way more important. What story are you living? What's the context? What's the higher game being played? Am I willing to take a loss now so that I can have more assets later? It's like almost a marshmallow test, Can I, not eat this marshmallow and then 2 hours I have 10? That's a good deal. Can I distract myself from the unnecessary the temporary in the moment melodrama just to almost be amused by it and still come out on top, because now I turn a off the mark remark, off the hand remark, underwater stab, let's say, as the Sudanese will call it, into almost a joke, an amusing story, and it just aids to my character. Like, oh, is that how you think of me? Good. It's what Jocko Willing says. Say what
And
now?
you
It's raining
always have that.
outside. You always have that. It's a counter mechanism of not only removing the problem, but letting it nourish you. It's the Jocko Willings, David Goggins attitude of it's raining outside and I have to run. Good. I've been waiting for it. Your assessor gave back feedback and you're not exactly okay with it. Good. Grow through it. A girl flaked on you on a date. She didn't show up. Good. Now you have more time for others. Now you can enjoy yourself. And it just goes on and on and on. And it's that internal response that dictates the external one. You'll always have that. It's that Michael Singer thing of recognizing, oh, my body is not feeling okay. My body is reacting these emotions. I can observe them and stick to the pain like it's yoga and realize that this pain is necessary. And that's what it means to be a man, you know? It's how much pain am I willing to endure before I start breaking my character?
Yeah. And that circles back to exactly where we came from at the beginning. It's how you do anything is how you do everything.
Yeah,
That is the essence of
absolutely.
a hero for all seasons, brother. I think that about sums it up.
That about sums it up. Then let's end it on that. This has been the Heroes Podcast 64, a Dutch and New Zealand production. My name is Ryan G from Align Data Strategy. I do an event in about a week. And of course, my co-host, the real Pete Kirkwood, your kingmaker, your empire builder. I wish you a wonderful life. This is a be the best, fuck the rest production. May you have a wonderful life. Good morning, good evening, and good night.